Hi and welcome to this video on Destiny 2. This video on Destiny 2 is... This video I am covering the specifics on why this game is very fun, and also it is going to be the last video I talk for a good bit, because the Destiny community is basically... How do I put this? I have put a lot of time and effort into a lot of different things, including Destiny, and no one wants to see the time and effort it actually has, like the things it has, and nothing like that. No one wants to actually take the good things that you should put time and effort into, and different things like that. They just want to yell at it and scream at it and bitch at it and different things like that. Like they don't want to see this game for what it actually is, and it hurts me. Genuinely, it just fucking hurts seeing the amount of effort and time and consideration Bungie put into this game, and yet people want to just abuse it, yell at it, scream at it, and not actually see the beauty in every little nuance of this game. I'm trying to figure out why I have not 100 resilience. I always have 100 resilience. I don't know why this build is like that. I can fix it later. The gameplay is not what is important. I'm wanting to cover how, one, there is no such thing as meta in this game. Two, you can play literally any way you want to. And three, even the light subclasses and dark subclasses without Prismatic are absolutely fair and balanced. Same with Prismatic. Prismatic has a little bit of flares here and there, like a little bit of problems here and there, but overall, the entire sandbox is incredibly balanced, and that is another complaint point that I know the community really hates, but I'm not going to say it out loud, so they're going to get bitchy about everything else, that it's actually fair and balanced. Like, for an example, right now, or when Void 3.0 came out, no one really, or how about this? People want to say that a lot of different subclasses are just meta, when each subclass can do so many different things. Like, for an example, Void Titan specifically, with Controlled Demolition, it gives you the ability to do high damage with guaranteed survivability for your team with a massive AoE. That healing explosion is like double the actual damage AoE, and it is insane. If you did not know that, do play with it. It is absolutely insane, the AoE that you and your allies will actually get healed from it, which will also trigger itself and different things like that. But people already know that. That is the cool thing about that. But people already know that. Le Monarch, though, and people don't really think to use Le Monarch even in close quarters, even with Titan, really. But Le Monarch, first, all bows have very good hipfire if you know how to use it, and if you're up close and personal, it's like a scout rifle. Both of them have pretty decent hipfire if you know what you're doing with them. Le Monarch, if you just full charge it and hit him in the body or something like that with the fully charged bow to do that poison effect, it will actually trigger the volatile. So all you have to do with volatile rounds is shoot one bullet or one arrow, and then it's doing it repetitively and just killing everything. And that is absolutely insane. And that is just one interaction in this game. This game has hundreds of interactions across every subclass. There's so many little things. Like, for an example, Second Chance. Second Chance's entire shtick is very good and very powerful. And, okay, Second Chance on release had the ability to puncture through shields of like phalanxes without it being a champion and do damage to that phalanx or that shielded boy. Nowadays you have to pierce through the first one, and if there's a second shielded boy behind it, that will actually take the damage for some unknown reason. That's a little bit jank. But the ability to just say fuck you, anything with a shield, is still there, and it is still very, very handy, because if you didn't know, anti-barrier rounds goes through any barrier in PvE. PvP, Titan barricades take increased damage to anti-barrier rounds, which is actually pretty fucking handy, because Titans love their walls. And I have max resilience not for the walls, I have max resilience for the survivability aspect. I don't actually like using my wall. I kind of find it lackluster when I have to stay put. And that is something that this game has also touched on. Even, okay, people like saying, give me more, give me more, give me more in this game, where this game constantly gives more, but they can't just slap things in. I do think Destiny would really be beneficial if it had a TTS server. I think it's TTS. Public, or a test server to allow people to just play the game and random shit. And for an example, with Bungie, if Bungie ever wants to have a public test server, they could easily have different exotics that are not in the game that are trying out different pieces of different exotics, like 3 different weapon exotics that are slapping together. And it's these weapons are then getting slapped together like different ways, and there's like 4 different exotics kind of thing to test out each individual piece, but they're all like it's 3 arc exotics that they're going to introduce like in a year span, but they're really wanting to try out each individual component, so they're putting it in different exotics and mix and matching and not showing off the full picture of what the exotic is actually going to be. Like different things like that they can really play with and experiment with. And I think that's why TTS would be very handy for Destiny, but that's not a thing in Destiny. The thing I am going to talk about is how we are going to have a subclass 3.0-ish. And I do want to talk about that because the capabilities of it. And I say subclass 3.0-ish because there is new shit for each subclass. I always forget that is the Void subclass because I don't really know how to use Unbreakable that well. I haven't really figured out a... Actually, no, wait, I have. Never mind. Ursa Furiosa is the only way I've really figured out how to use it because that is just beneficial as fuck for Ursa Furiosa, the amount of shit you can do with it. But, that allows you to do so many different things, and the cool thing about that, and the reason why I have my buttons like that is because it's very handy to allow me to have an insta press for my grenade. I also have my melee and uncharged melee all as insta presses. That is not the right spot. There it is. All of my abilities as insta presses. If you want to see it, you can, and it is very helpful for PlayStation or controller in general, because this general layout can be used on Xbox or PlayStation or any controller you really want, because even PC can use controllers. Excuse me, if they didn't hear me, I had to burp. The next, or the thing about this new art or new subclass 3.0 is when it gets to arc, and I do mean when. I know Bungie. Bungie is not going, and I don't know Bungie directly. I have not talked to Bungie directly, but I know Bungie because of the amount of time and effort they put into, not Infamous, Halo 1, Halo 2, I think Halo 3, and those are the 3 games I grew up playing. I played them so much on the hardest difficulty, I stopped trying to kill the enemies in the campaign because it was more fun to just run through them and not try and kill them. Like, I played it that much, and I was called a cheater in PvP and that general shit, which is why I know for a fact Bungie is good at what they do. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because with Arc 3.0, and I'm sorry if you heard that flick, because it was a flick to my headset. I was trying to figure out the exact wordage there, but with the subclass 3.0s, I really think there should be an update. And Bungie has talked about a massive update to Titans. Titans do not need a massive update. There's some things here and there that do need to be touched up, like, for an example, not Roaring Flames. Knockout should have the ability to proc itself like Roaring Flames or like Offensive Bulwark, stuff like that, to allow them to actually self-proc, which will be very handy just for knockouts in general. Like, if you can get anybody or anything critical and proc it again, even if it's not fully gone, will allow that to constantly be active, so there's not a moment where you just killed a boy, you got him critical, you go to punch the next boy, and you don't have that lunge and you just explode. Like, that feeling is so miserable, and that aspect of Titan is what needs to be touched on. The feeling, which is why I really want to talk about this type of ability. Every single class, Hunter, Titan, and Warlock, all need non-stationary class abilities, and I do not mean dashes. They do not need a dodge mechanic. What they could have, like, for an example, a good solar class ability that would work well. So overall, it would only really work with this and this, but the 4th one that will come out could really work with this. But the concept that I've thought up for a very good class ability, and I think I talked about this on the videos. And if I did talk about this, or do I talk about any of this in other videos, I'm sorry. I just like being very full, so to speak, when it comes to everything I'm saying. I'm trying to make sure everything's out there so there is no miscommunication. The class ability that could be very handy for Solar Titan is a rev mechanic, where it could have a very fun animation. The animations in this game sell the entire game. Like, for an example, there's so many anime references in this game. It is absolutely hilarious. Like, for an example, the Solar Warlock melee Incinerator Snap is actually a complete reference in functionality and everything to Colonel Mustang from what's it called? Full Metal Alchemist, but there's also Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and that is the one I watched. I watched Brotherhood, not the original. So there is a lot of differences between the two, but I think it's mostly animation and humor. The first one seems a little bit more funny, but Brotherhood and the first one both have Colonel Mustang. Colonel Mustang causes ignitions on the same type of snap, same move with his hands, same everything. And the funny thing about it, the incinerator snap causes an ignition, which is just gorgeous how they have that thing, like how the Kamehameha is just the big arc laser beam that Warlock has. Like, there's so many things that are just amazing about this game, which is part of the reason why if we do get Nightmares as a subclass, it needs to just be the JoJo subclass. Like, it needs to just be the JoJo subclass, without a doubt. Being able to just spawn Saint 14 out of you like a stand and let him aura a bitch with headbutts alone sounds so fucking fun. And then the melee ability, I do want to talk about this because the concepts and the abilities that could be done because of how the abilities work and how they've expanded the subclass overall. Like, for an example, and the reason why I'm going to talk about the specific melee and why at first it sounds kind of crazy, but different melees have so many different things. How Consecration, other than melees like this, works, where it takes chunk by chunk, even the Stasis melee takes chunk by chunk. Stasis melee takes chunk by chunk. There's the first launch, which takes half of it, and then the second punch that takes the other half. The darkness, or the third darkness subclass, if it is not the Witnesses thing, I do think it will be Nightmares. If it is Nightmares, the melee really needs to be one of those melees, or a new type of melee, because I don't think it should take half and half. It should take a portion per swing, so you can spam it and get rid of the entire charge, or punch once. And hell, they could have a mechanic where you can also charge it to have the entire go. They could really play with that charge mechanic and really have fun with it, because I think that subclass should be the punch 'em subclass more so than Arc, because Arc is the flow with the combat, go from one thing to the next with punching in it, but it's more on the movement side of things because of amplifying different things like that. Just the subclass is, each subclass is so beautiful in what it actually brings, which brings me to the next portion that I do want to talk about, how the Rev itself could actually, or if Solar Titan had a Rev mechanic for a class ability, which I do not think this class ability should apply any movement. It is just like to crack their knuckles. They do the cool, and I do mean cool, like this is actually a kind of cool concept of him just reloading his fists. And everyone knows the meme of just a chunk of, I forget the actor, just doing that in a action scene about to punch somebody, basically loading his fists. And the concept there is so funny, and it could actually work for Titan, where you're actually loading your fists with solar energy. So it is a chunk as you are doing it. The animation could be anything, it could be cracking knuckles, it could be all sorts of different things, but the concept alone is just revving. And the Rev is allowing you to use Soul Invictus, where you just spawn a sunspot on your feet, which will allow you, and I don't think the sunspot has to last a whole lot of time, it's just to get everything going. So you can go from point A to point B without having to worry about it. And it should also dabble into Roaring Flames, where it does both, but it is not a absolute maximum with Roaring Flames. It is when you have none, it gives you a stack, so you can instantly have that Rev, so you don't have to worry about shit, which will, like in PvP, it will allow you to have a little bit more go about it, a little bit easier time about it, to allow you to have the one shot eventually with the throwing hammer, if you really want to do that, and it'll be actually a little bit easier. You'll have the healing, all sorts of different things. There's so many different things there that can actually be applicable in PvP and PvE. But the cool thing about it, and I think this would actually balance it, and I'm sorry about that, I am kind of melting. It is summer in Georgia, and I cannot have my air conditioner going because it is very audible over the mic. So I'm kind of melting. The cool thing about this, or my personal thing that I do think would actually make this even more balanced, is when it has any stacks, it will only refresh the timer, not actually give another stack. I have dabbled in my mind about giving more stacks, like if you have one, it will give you another one, and then you have two, you'll give you another one. That seems a little bit busted because, say, you're building into ability region and you have maximum ability region for class ability, you just don't have to worry about shit. You are constantly at max rev, and that just sounds kind of broken. Unless you have to at least get the kills to get there and not just pop your class ability 3 times. But the capability of that concept of having a on the go, because I do think it's not a stationary, it is a animation that you can still strafe in doing, which the reason why I'm talking about this is because warlocks and titans die so often trying to place their things. Their things are very handy. Like titan walls are just a no you to anything, basically PvE or PvE. Like it is an amazing utility, but the animation where you have to plant your feet and then place it and all sorts of things, it is just gonna get you killed a lot of the time when you really need to use it, which is very funny. How it's the like everyone hates it in PvP, but in PvE it's really not that good. It's good. It's really good for like getting a revive or something like that, like being absolute just fuck it and running in, placing it to get something done. But in the actual like thing else, it's really not good. And that concept of having a on-the-go class ability. Just think about your favorite warlock or Titan subclass, and think about what the concepts could be. And that is the beautiful thing about this game. Because, like for an example, Void. Void is not purple. Void is not grapes. Void is the in-between of galaxies, of stars. It is the absence of creation. It is the void. And the concept, and that's the reason why warlocks can toss fucking black hole bombs at a bitch and make it distort itself in so many crazy ways, and in so many crazy ways in two different ways, because Slova bomb and Nova bomb are both actually black hole bombs, which is insane. And just the concept of what they actually do once they explode is also insane, because the warlock is forcing singularities to do what they're doing. Just, the game in lore is insane in what you can actually do as the Guardian, because the amount of potential in every single power, every single subclass, and then Prismatic came out, and that is just. I do want to talk about it a little bit because Prismatic is the future, but not in it is the best subclass. I do want to talk about why that is the future of Destiny 2 and why they really should dabble in the concepts of what they brought there, and bring them to other subclasses. But I'll get to that later. The crazy thing about the subclass 3.0 or 4.0 that is going to happen for every single subclass is I do think Arc is the weakest subclass, but that is only because the other subclasses have a way to sustain themselves. This has a easy way to get health back, easy way to get overshield, or easy way to get all sorts of overshield, but damage reduction that can stack up easily and different things like that to give them survivability that they can then. Excuse me, I'm trying my best not to burp. Excuse me, I'm sorry that you heard that. The stasis shards thing of being able to gain that frost armor allows you to have survivability that then you can tack on with literally anything else to have even more survivability. I thought I actually had the healing thing there. This, which you can easily just tack on, and there's other ways to have the healing in the subclass, I think. Or does it just give you healing? No, it doesn't give you healing. But it's still incredibly handy overall with the survivability alone. Amplified is very handy for the movement, but it does not give any damage reduction of any sort at all. And I don't even think Amplified needs to give a damage reduction. Basically every season has had something similar to that, which is very handy, or that does not actually give. There it is. Yeah, damage reduction. The damage reduction has been in so many different seasons or episodes now or seasons because it's the first episode with it, but it is very handy overall, and it has been a very good idea to allow the arc subclass to have a very good way to do that. But there's already three different damage reduction sources. There is this, and this. All three of those have a way to have damage reduction. I think arc should have a different flavor for their survivability. What I think should happen is more ways to first, more ways to spawn ionic traces in the subclass. I think ionic traces should be basically stasis shards, and I do say this because arc and stasis are two sides of the same coin, like solar and stasis, or solar and strand are. The void equivalent should actually be nightmares, because both of those kind of just make sense. Like how strand and solar are both sides of creation and life. Stasis and arc are both sides of movement. One is no movement, one is all movement. And they and the reason why I say this is because of that. Like, I can go down deeper into that, but I don't want to because time. But uh, the the ability to spawn ionic traces should be spread across the entire subclass and allows you to do so many different things with it. But the thing that I think they should add to ionic traces, which is why I'm talking about this, is instead of a damage reduction, it is just a slight, and I do mean a very little amount of healing. Nowhere near cure, just a little bit of healing. Because if they can spawn a lot of them, or if they just want to use something like Cold Heart, for an example, and Cold Heart is one of my personal favorite arc weapons because of what it's able to do. There we go. That does not sound that good by itself. If you've played with Cold Heart a long time ago, modern day Cold Heart, the high damage state actually will keep going from enemy to enemy to allow you to whip it like a fucking noodle and damage an entire horde, spawning ionic traces from every single bitch you kill, which is absolutely gorgeous in the capabilities there. And the crazy thing about it, because your weapon spawning the ionic traces, it does not actually count for you. So you can easily have infinite ionic traces if you know what you're doing. I have a Warlock build with this, and it is insane. I think I've actually made a video on that in my Any Weather build series, but I don't actually know. Just the capabilities in this game are absolutely insane, which is why balancing a lot of these different things is not as easy as a lot of people want to make it seem. Like, for an example, okay, this is kind of bad, but in previous updates, there has been times where different higher buffs, and okay, this is getting into the weeds, but this is very important. Destiny 2 has a tier system. You cannot stack every single damage source, like every single debuff, with every single buff to make you just an unstoppable killing machine. You can, however, stack like a weaken, and there's different sources of weaken that have different amounts, and a damage buff of three different tiers. I think there's like three different tiers. Like, there's a stacking guaranteed, a empowerment, and something else. And there's those three different tiers, like how Radiant and Will of Radiance are both technically the same tier, and then you can stack on Surges, which is a different tier, and then you can have like stuff like your exotic perks, such as, I'm trying to think of the exotic, Path of Burning Steps. There we go. Path of Burning Steps, which will also stack with Surges, and I think, wait, no, now they can't. Is it of the stacks? I I have not really gotten into the weeds of this in a very long time because I don't even have a raid team. I really like this all this science, so to speak, because of the amount of capabilities and the amount of balancing. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because there has been times where, like, say for example, a 30% weaken, and weaken simplified is you do more damage to the boy that has weaken on them. There has been 30% and 15% for a very long time. Sometimes the 15% will actually override 30 without you actually knowing, because they're both the same look on the enemy, even though one's significantly better than the other, which is absolutely depressing if you really want to build in, or when you wanted to use that, because it was like if I remember correctly, it was div that was the 15, and it actually overwrote the 30 that you could place, but giving you the crit spot, or something around those lines. And that doesn't matter. If you know, you know. The the future of Destiny 2, and I do want to cover this because this is actually very important, and it's more so than just the subclass 3.0 or 4.0 at this point. The future of Destiny 2 is the utility ability. The utility ability, if spread across the entire subclass, and I do think Transcendence should actually be spread across the entire subclass, possibly, or subclass as in sandbox, that subclass. I do think every subclass should have it, just because of the capabilities I'll talk about later. But I think Electrified Snare should say a prismatic grenade, a prismatic thing only, but this slot itself should actually be across the entire sandbox because of what it can do. Like, for an example, if you've played the final shape, or not the final shape, yeah, it is the final shape, never mind. Wait, is it? I was thinking about Lightfall. Never mind. I always say Lightfall when I mean Final Shape, and it makes match them so many different times. But the Lightfall or the Final Shape campaign, if you've played it at all, when you first get Transcendence, the ability to unlock Transcendence, you are able to use any subclass, and even in the Pale Heart, if you do find a puddle of Transcendence, or Prismatic technically, you'll be able to, on any subclass, get that buff, but it will not stay because it technically isn't a thing you have. It just kind of not overwrites, adds something to you. I do think Transcendence should be a thing overall because of the capabilities that you could easily have with Transcendence. I do think there should be some fine tuning to it, like for an example, even with Prismatic. I think even if you are building into all dark, you should still be able to get light damage without having to do some crazy shit here. What you should be able to do is, say for an example, you have all dark weapons. You're going complete dark set. What you should be able to do once you max out that dark set, being able to do light energy or get light energy from just an overabundance of dark, where like how orbs of light are light and dark in the same package because light and dark are two sides of the same coin. You're kind of doing the same thing where it will be doing damage, giving you like kinetic-ish. And I do think kinetic itself should actually give more on hit. I do think it should actually give some on hit in general, which will be very. And I do think it should be less than light or darkness. Just on hit will be very handy. And if you have the darkness thing, I think it should actually do less if you're building into just full darkness and going into light, because that will give you a little bit more playroom, so to speak, and that allow you to do a whole lot more, even if it is a lot less than kinetic, because then you'll just be able to constantly get kills. Like for an example, a Unravel build, Threadling build, or anything else like that that has massive AOE or just a lot of damage or anything like that will allow you to do so much crazy things. And the reason why I say it should actually be across the entire subclass is because Transcendence can allow you to do things like with this build, have infinite shield throws, where you just toss a grenade, toss two shields, toss a grenade, toss two shields, toss a grenade, toss two shields. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, with a 5% damage increase that stacks with everything else I talked about, how it will stack with surges, radiant, and different things like that. And that overall capability is insane if it is ever spread to the entire or the entire sandbox. And with that, I do think each subclass should have specific utility abilities. Like for an example, and each class too. A good Titan specific one could be, and I do think each one should have like their class abilities, but maximum kind of thing. Where Titan could have a massive wall, and I do think the capabilities here are very handy. I just don't know how to balance it, and I do think this will make it an amazing utility ability, like labeling by that name, where the utility ability is the Titan jumps or can place it anywhere, but it's how I would picture it because of the usefulness that I will actually cover is the Titan or okay. Titan is the movement class. Titan allows you to do so many different things with strafe lifts. Strafe lifts, or any lift for an example, or any lift really works here, but I use strafe lift the most because of the amount of precision you can have with it. It allows you to jump a lot shallower than Hunter jump, a lot more precise than Warlock jump, with a lot more height than in the either or if you really want to use it. Like there's so many little nuances about strafe lift that makes it so insane for the Titan kit. What I think could easily be done with a utility ability, or relatively easily done, easily in concept, not necessarily in practice because coding, different things like that, but the ability to run, jump, and place it at your feet and thud. Or, how to put this? Class ability, when you run, jump, you stop in the air to be able to place a wall. And I do think it should stop in the air like you're tossing the new axes, which will allow you to be able to stop and place this wall wherever you want to. I think this wall should actually be a physical object and not something you can walk through, be it ally or enemy, which will allow you to place it at your feet. And I do think it should be like a bubble where you can place it like up, down, left, right, kind of like I don't know how to explain it. There's so many different ways to explain it, but the ability to place it anywhere you want to, and if you place it flat on the ground, you'll be able to make a platform for all your allies to jump on and then jump to another platform. And if there's an entire team of Titans, or like 3 Titans for an example, with this same utility ability, they'll be able to just make platforms for everyone across an entire gap and just easy parkour. Like how hunters have the ability with their aspects for Strand to have tangle points all over the place. This would be a lot more versatile for everyone, even if they don't have Strand, basically, kind of thing. And that is what Titans want to be, even. They're meant to be the anchor point for the entire team, for their hunters and warlocks alike, because that's what Titan does. That's why Titan is in the shit constantly. And Titan really just needs a. Going back to what Titan needs, Titan just needs a overall. How do I put this? Vibe check, I guess, works. Titan's entire concept, in my opinion, is not Punch. When you label Titan as Punch, you are also labeling Warlock and Hunter as Punch, because the amount of times either or uses their melee ability is insane. Hunter and Titan both are. Titan and War. Fuck. Fuck. Titan actually has so many different use cases besides just get in there and fuck shit up. Like, for an example, this entire build allows you to have long range capabilities easily with a lot of ad clear and different things like that at literally any range, and that is what Titan is. It is the soldier, the barbarian, the one, or more not barbarian. It can be barbarian. Overall, though, they are the ranger. They are the warrior. They are the jack of all trades, kind not jack of all trades. How do I describe it well? The soldier, I think, is the best way to put it, where they are the boots on the ground, get in there, which is actually why they have these lifts. The ability to turn it off instantaneously when you activate it. People typically use that to do little janks here and there to get high speeds with, I forget which one. But if you are just using that to land on somebody, to move a little bit better, to get to little platforms here and there, that is where the capability is with Strafelift. And if you didn't know, Strafelift, without using any like amplifier, or even with amplifier, that's insane, but without using like Eager Edge or my personal favorites, do I have? I do. The Nadir origin trait, because that is insane. This capability alone allows the Nadir swords, if they ever do add more, to not basically, literally be better than Eager Edge because of what Eager Edge is used for. If you just swing 3 times, you are now lunging, and sword lunge is very iffy if you don't know how to use it. A quick overview: sword lunge lunges in like a shallower angle than 180 in front of you. And I do mean 180 as in side to side, and you're looking ahead. It will lunge in a shallower angle than 180, but basically 180. If nothing is in front of you in the lunge radius, and I do mean, okay, need to fully explain this. If you are moving forward and swinging, specifically, it will only lunge in that general area, like how you can lunge backwards if you're moving backwards. Only lunge forwards with this capability because it will allow you to have a lot more precision with it. So always move forward and swing. With the move forward and swing, you can actually go through like the Trailway or anything, not the Trailway, the not newer dungeon, Crota's dungeon, or not Crota's dungeon, Crota's raid. You can actually get through the first section with just the Nadir sword, or second section with just the Nadir sword pretty easily. I say second section because once you spawn the bridge, fall down into the Hellmouth, I count that as 2 different sections. One showing you showing you a mechanic, the other one showing you another mechanic, so different things like that. But you can get through that entire section pretty easily just by using the Nadir sword alone, which is actually pretty handy. And if you keep in mind what I said, you'll be able to go very far with it, even in literally any environment at all, if you know what you're doing, which is the same for literally anything in this game. If you know what you're doing, you can do insane things. Like, for an example, some people just can't really use hand cannons, some people just can't really use bows, grenade launchers, whatever, because some people just click with other weapons here and there. Uh, Make sure there's nothing else I really want to talk about because, and okay, I'm going to talk about the things that really need to be buffed for Titans. The things that really need to be buffed is, like I said, knockouts and just overall what is Titan. Fully showing off what is Titan, because Titan is the anchor point of the class. Classes. Titan is meant to be getting in there and fucking shit up better than either or, relatively speaking. They are not going to be able to do as much damage as Hunter. And I don't think they should ever be able to do as much melee damage as that Hunter melee build that basically everyone uses, that will do more damage than any Titan build ever could, with that ease of use specifically, because there's ways to get more damage done with Titan, I believe, actually more damage with Titan pretty effectively, but is a rev mechanic, where that is literally just a get hit dodge, or get hit punch, actually. And then you can easily have it revved. There, it is very easy to get done, but Hunter has it easier. Both of them can get up to the same damage, but Hunter has it easier. That build, I think, should always be better than you think Titan can, because it is about the finesse. It is about the single target. You're hitting me, I dodge, I dance around you, and then I annihilate you like Devil May Cry. And that's why I always describe Titan, or not Titan, Hunter as the Devil May Cry character, because that's what they are. They are the finesse, they are the dodge, they are the parry, they are the all sorts of different things to fuck over the opponent and then annihilate them even more because of them being fucked over, kind of thing. Warlocks are the space wizards, completely and utterly. There's so many different ways I can explain that, but they're the space wizards. Titans are the walls that will run at you. We're like the soldiers, the heavies, the all sorts of different things that can be all sorts of different things. Uh, and that is really the only thing. Like, there's so many little things across the board that I could talk about technically, but nothing really is needed for a complete over. Like, nothing. Okay, nothing is too bad for, or nothing is so bad that there's a complete overhaul needed. Just tweaks across the board is really all that's needed. And with that said, I do also think Bungie should have a week of downtime, or a couple days of downtime, to allow them to fully get into the code of Destiny 2 and fine tune it. I don't mean completely rewrite it, I don't mean completely do anything like that. Just fine tune it. Dust off some pieces here and there, get some spaghetti out the spaghetti code, that general thing. Like, get some meatballs out of there, that general thing. And I don't even mean like fine tune, like put places. I mean just dig in the spaghetti and clean it out a little bit, kind of thing. Like, something like that would allow this game to flow a lot better, because sometimes things just don't work as they should. Like, for an example, and I don't know if this is spaghetti code or how I have my buttons, but even anyway I have my buttons, this easily happens a lot, where I'm trying, or I'm running, gunning, doing my typical Titan thing, and I do my typical Titan thing because I've never seen another Titan do what I do. I use the fuck out of Strafe Lift because the capabilities. Okay, the reason I'm talking about this is because I do think this is a me problem, because I have not heard anyone else talking about it, even mainstream streamers or mainstream YouTubers, streamers, no matter what. Titan with Strafe Lift, or any lift in general, allows you to have the best pro and con with the lift. The lifts all conserve momentum. Strafe Lift is the one that does it the most. If you are using that on purpose, it is insane. Because, like, for an example, Strafe Lift, if you are wanting to, say, do a good bit of damage to a boss, you can run up as the boy that will be able to tank its damage the easiest. And I don't mean like doing this in raid, I mean like a strike, something like that, low end strike. Lower end, because you can actually do this in higher end depending on how good you are. Like, I have been able to do this in GMs here and there with varying degrees of success, if I do actually know exactly where the enemies are, how I need to move, different things like that. And it is a masterful skill with this, and it is basically what I do in COD Zombies, and I call it Ballerina in COD Zombies, so I don't want to call it here. In COD Zombies, I dance through the horde. I'm just good at it. I don't know how, but I've always been able to do it. Strafe Lift allows you to basically do the exact same thing as what I'm talking about with COD Zombies, but for a boss, where every boss has a stomp mechanic. If you are intentionally, like, running up with a shotgun and you have a rocket launcher or something in your back pocket, what you could do is run up, shotgun blast them, do whatever you're doing with a shotgun, jump as the boss is about to do the stomp. As they stomp, use Strafe Lift to intentionally fly up and away, and as you are up and away enough, and this is completely situational, enough, You swap to your rocket launcher, grenade launcher, whatever you're wanting to use, and dump the entire thing into it before you land. And I've been able to do that with basically every single grenade launcher I own, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And my personal favorite way to use this mechanic of conserving momentum and different things like that is with grapple. Because grapple, you can do a grapple slingshot and then carry that momentum to go fucking far with just a single grapple, which is absolutely gorgeous. With that said, you can do some very fun mechanics or very fun gameplay loops of, like the Ariana's Vow. How Ariana's Vow has the catalyst that allows it to have auto-loading holster, and how Ariana's Vow is literally just a sniper hand cannon, completely and utterly. It even uses special ammo, making it a completely and utterly sniper hand cannon, which is amazing because it has so many different things that are overlapping from both sniper and hand cannon. Excuse me, even though you didn't hear me, I had to burp. Ariana's Vow has a very good scope, but not sniper scope, which alone is very gorgeous about Ariana's. Something fun about Ariana's is that nothing about it states that you have to be on the ground. So, if you really want to have fun, and this is something I haven't done in a long time because I haven't played with this build, but you can grapple, slingshot over the boy you're wanting to shoot on, aim with your hip fire as you're flying away because you can easily turn different things like that. And while you're flying, do keep in mind your movement does still apply with your look. So if you're trying to keep the momentum forward and you're wanting to do a 180, do move your movement input that same direction to carry that momentum still, because if you don't, you'll be able to slow yourself down, different things like that. Like, there's so many little nuances to strafe lift. But being able to grapple, fly away, you can then aim with the hand cannon and then ADS, which will then drop you. But as you're dropping, aim for that boy's head and you will guarantee that dink. Basically, it is gorgeous, fun, and so it is my personal favorite type of adrenaline, or not adrenaline, dopamine in this game, because the amount of just absolute precision, fun, and just yeehaw capabilities with that build and that concept is absolutely insane. And everything I say to there is so much easier on Titan than any other class, because technically other classes can do what I just talked about of grappling, to using their movement ability to then float, turn around, and shoot. But Titan has the easiest go about it, which is what Titan is. Titan is the easiest soldier, not the easiest dance around them, not the easiest anything, the easiest soldier, because the soldier is meant to be able to get in, get out effectively, and very fucking heavily, where if the Titan is getting in, the enemies are going to feel it. If the Titan is getting out, the allies are going to feel it. Either way, because of what Titan is meant to do. Like, for an example, how I love playing Titan in PvP. Not in Trials, but in anything other than Trials. Trials I really like playing for my life, but in any other PvP, I will intentionally run to the enemy team, do a good bit of damage to the entire enemy team, and die most definitely, but that decent bit of damage with whatever I'm really wanting to do will then allow my allies, because I'm just one kill that they got, they are like 5, 3, 2, more than one. I basically traded my life for those 3, I'll say, because typically it's like 2, 3, around there. And that is what I love doing, trading my life for theirs, because that is still a bonus for me, even though that is like 2 technically up for us. That is 2 per go of that. And typically, or not typically, sometimes I do not lose that fight, depending on what exactly I am doing, because I am just fucking good. uh, and that is not me being egotistical. I have in the past not. It is very easy for a Titan to run around with knockout and just go punch happy. That is not what I do. I do not like running around and going punch happy. My personal favorite type of builds are like this for PvP. My personal favorite type of builds do not even use my melee as a damage tool. That is a movement tool for me, to allow me to get to the point, to allow me to get away from the point, to allow me to get to anywhere I really want to go, instantaneously with a boom. Sure, it's very loud, but that is a guarantee they even know where I am, which, like Sombra, if you're saying hello or boop, whatever you do, you're intentionally giving yourself away slightly to get in the enemy's heads. Same with that shoulder strike, whatever version you're wanting to use, because of the amount of shit you can do with it. And you also have just a decent damage tool if you really want to use it. Uh, the reason why I have, and okay, I don't want to go into the entire details of this build, but everything here makes sense for what I'm wanting to do. Like, for an example, this exotic, and I do want to go into this because this is a very weird exotic, and the entire video overall should have actually told you how there is such a thing as meta and how there's so many different things you can use. The reason why I'm using this is because of its overall capability with everything else that I just talked about of strafe lift. All of that is then amplified with amped and that lion ramparts, which can let you just fucking fly anywhere you want to go. Literally, anywhere you want to go, basically. Not like across massive gaps, but if you know the distance of that strafe lift with lion ramparts, because it does add on like half of the distance, if not double the distance of that strafe lift, which allows you to cross incredible gaps, mind you, but at kind of ridiculous speeds. If you know what you're doing and exactly how you're wanting to do it, you can do some crazy maneuvers that will literally bamboozle your enemy. And if you are good at using this like general play style of using strafe lift to bamboozle, get in, different things like that, eventually, if you are also using good weapons, the weapons you're good with, and different things like that, eventually you will get people that will recognize you, because if you're Titan, you look different, you look unique because different exotics here and there. Somebody will recognize you, see who you are, turn around and then turn around in fear and run. And I say this from experience because it's happened so many times, and it is amazing because that is the biggest compliment in PvP, where somebody recognizes it is you in PvP, where they're supposed to kill you, and their reaction is not to even shoot you. It is a, oh fuck, and turn and run. That is the biggest compliment, and it is amazing. Uh, with all that said, I hope it is very clear and very just understandable. I bet it's not, because my videos are not really that understandable, because I'm not really that good at talking overall when it comes to just blabbermouthing, because I really need somebody to bounce off of in a conversation, because it's just a lot easier to do. But, and with that said, I am going to not make another video for a good bit with me actually talking in the video unless I have something specific I'm really want to talk about. Because a lot of the time I don't really have, how to put this? Like at the very beginning, a lot of people want to just say, I am bad, I am wrong, I am blah, 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 when I am going out of my way to help those same individuals, those same people in so many different ways, and it is just harmful. It is literally just toxic in my soul, basically. And I can't really do shit about it. So, and the only thing I can do is go to counseling, and I am going to go to counseling here soon, or I think counseling is a good way to put it, here relatively soon, which will be very handy. And after that, if I do feel a little bit better to actually like put my heart and soul into something a little bit more, that is when I'll be making videos a little bit more. But with all that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.